want to see your face. You don't look too beat up. That's good. Based on the stars and the time of night, we should be close. 1 or 2 more days, then we'll be at the city gates. I know I've said it like a million times now, but thanks for coming with me. When I left home, it was a lot scarier. I find it odd. The thought of coming back here, it was terrifying before, but now all of that is just gone. I don't know what it is about you, you big lug, but you make me feel safe. Why was I so conflicted about going back all this time? It's a long story, but since we're about to go to bed, I don't mind if you fall asleep while I tell you. I might as well take first watch anyway. Well, the city I grew up in, basically a large church for the goddess, and my relatives are religious zealots. Every citizen there, they all seemed equally as devoted to the cause. It's hard to say this without being mad. What do you mean it can't be that bad? Oh, trust me. You'll know when we're close. You'll know what I mean when we get close. Sunrise. Every day, during sunrise, every citizen there would wake up and start singing. No, I did not leave just because the singing was bad, but it was. Don't get me wrong. Now, you've seen me. I don't mind religious people most of the time. It's kind of hypocritical of me since I'm a cleric. But when I was gifted these powers by the goddess, the people there, they started to look at me differently. I was given the task of judging people. Imagine that. An 8-year old deciding whether you should be punished or forgiven for something you did. At least, That's what it was like at first. But after a while, kind of expectedly, they started to control me a bit more, and eventually I just kind of became a puppet for them, just a means to an end. And they'd always say the same thing, even when I felt it was wrong. They'd always say that it was a mission from the goddess. Bullshit. Obviously, the people that they punished started to resent me. They would seize food from farmers without giving them anything in return. They'd punish people for singing songs that weren't religious. They'd put someone in prison just because they didn't like how that person looked at them. Petty old men. Really, really made me sick to my stomach. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Young, old, they did it to a baby once. Doesn't matter how old you were, how rich or poor you were, you're still subject to please them. If you don't, well, yeah. Now, I was a child then. I had nothing I could do. At least, I didn't know that I could do anything at the time. But I always felt that something was wrong. And then, one day when I was, I think, 18, a few injured travelers came by looking for shelter. It was a really bad storm, and we met them at the gate, and they were brought into the center of town where the main church was. And I had to judge them. Well, judge in, the way that it was back then. They asked me to heal their wounds. They had their own healer. Any self-respecting party would. But she was not in the best shape at the time. And I wanted to. I was moving forward in order to do it, but my father put a hand on my shoulder and told me to smite them. Just eradicate them. Kill them right then and there. What's the reason? It's because they worship a different god. That's it. Now, it's very common knowledge that most of the gods are on good terms with each other, but that didn't matter to Dad. I I don't know what came over me that day, but that was the day that I had enough. I gathered some fire and I looked at my dad, I looked at the travelers, and I engulfed my father in flames. I I don't remember much of what happened after that, but I do remember hearing a woman's voice in my ear. Good job, she said. Let me help you. Then my vision went white, and I found myself outside the walls of the city. Those travelers were back on their feet and they were fully healed too. So it was time for us to run. The city was blaring alarms. The roar of thunder shook the ground, and it was at that point that we ran. I ran until I got to around where we are now. The travelers, they had more stamina than me. They kept running. They practically left me to die, but it was fine. I could kind of understand where they came from. I don't hold any resentment to them, but I'm getting sidetracked. After that, it was a few years of wandering on my own until I met you guys. And even though that happened, and it caused me to cut ties with pretty much everyone I knew, something tells me that I did the right thing back then. Though I doubt that any of the citizens of the city will see it that way. I just hope that in the time since then, they'd have learned their lesson. Ah, you're asleep. Rest well. Thank you for coming with me. I love you.